yeah, success has meant different things at different times for me, but being able to participate and be in the driver's seat of my life right now uh, is probably the most exciting, which is going to lead to who knows what.
Today, I'm joined by Randy Wilson. Randy is on a mission to ignite lasting personal and financial transformation in individuals worldwide through the Rich Mind podcast. Mentored by personal development and financial giants like Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, David Neagle, Bob Proctor, and Robert Kiyosaki, Randy combines his passion for personal growth with practical financial education to encourage his followers to take inspired action to achieve their dreams. With a global audience, the Rich Mind podcast has become a leading resource for those seeking to apply timeless wisdom and build a richer, more fulfilling life. Randy's engaging style and insightful approach inspire listeners to take action, develop themselves, and build their own path to financial freedom and personal success. Randy, welcome. Good to see you again, sir.
Daryl, we were chatting before we hit record here today, and we just picked up right where we left off the last time we talked, and super excited about this conversation again today. I appreciate you inviting me back on. I've been on in the past, and I appreciate you joining me or coming back on or inviting me back on. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. I know, I see you got the memo about the t-shirt. We had to wear the
Yeah,
same.
exactly.
Pretty
Yeah, we
darn
were laughing
close.
about that. Yeah, exactly.
This was a
Yeah,
last minute choice too. I wasn't aware that, you were going with that as well.
it's that mental thing, right? I just had the vibe that this is what I needed to put on today. So yeah, super excited about that too.
Um, so I start off this podcast, the Show Up podcast, with one question, and then we take it from there. And I know, based on knowing your story, that you have a great story about this and about showing up, which is wonderful. So if you would, please tell me about an event or a time in your life that caused you to show up for your life in a different way.
Great question. And it does. It reflects right back into the big part of my story. And I will keep it as brief as I possibly can, but obviously get as detailed in there as well. So that way people can follow along. But let's say the time frame was back in 2007-ish, might have been 2008, right before the great financial crisis. I was working for a local retail chain here in Indiana. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the company I was working for, I was a store manager for them, made the decision that they were no longer going to keep my store open at that moment in time, right? Based on the turmoil that was going on, that the company was actually going bankrupt as as we kept going further, the company actually went dissolved and went bankrupt and all that kind of stuff. We didn't obviously know that at the time, but why that was such a big moment for me to show up was that I was in my mid 30s at that point. So I'd worked with that company for about 15 years or so, basically since I was 16. And I've given them my life. I mean, I was dedicated to the point where, as I mentioned, it was retail. So we were already working 80, 90 hours a week, Monday through Friday, or it wasn't Monday through Friday. It was actually Sunday to Sunday. I mean, it was 7 days a week at some points, days, nights, weekends, holidays. I've missed out on so many things with my own life, but I dedicated my life to go as far as I possibly could within that company. When they came in and took my store from me, basically, because like I said, that was my life, it shook me so hard internally from a mental standpoint to make me realize that I wasn't in control of my life as much as I knew that I should be, or that I knew that I could be. I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. But what I do know is, or did know, or figured out real quickly after that happened to me, was that I wasn't going to allow that to happen to me if I could avoid it ever again. So I just instantly started taking back my control. I went to the library, found a book. It was one of Robert Kiyosaki's books, Retire Rich, Retire Young. Started diving into content, personal development, financial education. I was learning things that I had never learned up to that point in my life. My parents didn't pass any of this to me. I don't have that rich uncle to teach me business and sales and all that. I was flying by the seat of my pants. I totally had the rug pulled out from underneath me. And it just made me just dive into taking back control of my own life. And I did that through personal, self-education. I was just going to get myself educated as much as I possibly could. Books led into audio programs. You named off Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale, all the greats. I could list out so many more. David Nagel, you mentioned his name as well, Bob Proctor. So I've evolved over the last, how long has it been now? 15 years, maybe 18. I don't know the number exactly, do the math, but the point is that I've changed, I've evolved. I got myself to the point where I wanted to begin giving back a little bit of what I was learning, which became the birth of the Rich Mind podcast. And that's kind of where we are today, just trying to share basic, what some folks might consider basic, but people that I wanted to give back to that 35-year-old Randy back in the day when he had that wake up call of, oh crap, this isn't what I thought it was. Now what? And I'm hoping that my message and my stories and even this conversation today will help that person, that when they get to that almost breaking point of now what, they can at least start putting some of the puzzle pieces together like I did, and just help them, because I didn't have any idea. I mean, I didn't have any clue. And it's taken me a long time to get to where I am today. And I'm grateful for the journey, but if I can help speed that up along for some folks, that's what I want to try to do as much as I possibly can, along with my own family. So I've had to revamp my whole family, meaning when I say revamp, I just mean teach them. I mean, I'm trying to teach them as I'm learning. So it comes out, I fumble every now and then, right? I don't quite have a concept right, or I make a mistake or whatever. And so it's been a process to teach my children. I now have grandchildren. So it's just a matter of changing that legacy of the Wilson name moving forward. I want what was up to that point when I was 35 to just almost be like the line in the sand of, okay, moving forward from that point, here we are. And I've had to show up to get that done. So every single day, just trying to get a little bit better, whether it's from a mental standpoint, financial standpoint, family, whatever the category is at that moment, just trying to show up and be better every single day. And that's been where I've been the last few months and few years. And it's been a lot of fun. So that leads us to this conversation here today, Daryl. So once again, just appreciate you bringing me back on.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that story because it's just so grounded, and it's so, everybody runs into something in their life that pushes them in a different direction, right? I mean, I think that's absolutely true. And so the answer is, what do we do with that? And I hit a bottom when I was younger and have hit other bottoms since, because that's just how life goes. But it sounds like you hit a bottom where you just said, you know what, I'm not going any further, and I'm gonna bounce up from here. And to me, that's just incredibly inspiring, because when I see people that have hit a bottom and then they attain freedom in their lives, what else is there, right? I mean, that's life, man. That's living.
Agreed. So then it's a matter of deciding what that success or what that freedom is to you individually. And you speaking and listening to us here today, that's what freedom is to me, and what success is to me doesn't necessarily need to be the same thing for other people. And we just get to navigate that as much as we possibly can based on where we are and the journey that we're on in that any given moment, right? It's just a matter of just making the decision and once again, showing up and doing the best you possibly can at any given moment. And that's, like you said, it's been freeing for me, time wise, for sure. I'm not worth putting in the 80, 90 hours a week in a retail environment, but I am doing that with myself, right? Self-education with my family, trying to build the podcast, my wife and I were in the process of trying to acquire a business. It's just a matter of you just reallocate your resources for yourself versus for other people. And for me, life has become a lot more fun than it was in those grinding moments of just every day, just waking up dreadful, just why am I doing this? What, you know what I mean? All of those questions that you might be listening to us here today and having the same ones. Just know that it's possible to change if you make the decision and begin showing up for yourself with that self-education.
Right. 100%. this is why I'm doing this podcast, so that we can reach out and we can say, hey, if you're out there and you're struggling and you're unsure and you're having, either problems, or maybe it's not even problems, maybe it's you're just looking for some freedom. You're looking for a different life and freeing up time, or freeing up mind space or heart space or whatever that is. We're here to tell you it's possible. And I think sometimes that's a message that we don't impart enough of in this world, that we can expand our belief system about what's possible. And I think it was before we hit record, Randy, but we were talking about, and I think you said, I've gone places that I've hit all the things that I wanted to do, so to speak, right? And I agree with you. And one of the things that's really cool is I've hit a lot of things that I had no idea were even possible, or that I even would have wanted to do. And so wanting people to know that's possible, I think that's what you and I are here for. But let's talk about success. You mentioned success, that word a couple of times, and I know we all have a different, connotation, or, from a timing perspective. When I was 19, it meant, man, I just want to make a lot of money. That's success. And now that has shifted for me incredibly over the course of time. But how has that shifted for you, and what has become, I guess, more important or just different?
So I have never been the one to chase money or things. I just have never been that way, even when I was a child or growing up. I just have never done that. So I'm really not that way today. Of course, there are some certain things that I would like to have. 69 Camaro, red, black stripes, black interior, 4-speed. I mean, I've got
Me
the
too.
car, right? I want the car. Uh, but beyond that, I don't necessarily need stuff. So success for me, that's where I made that comment. Success for me is going to be different than it might be for you. You might need or want all of the stuff that money can buy. For me, when I was going through my turmoil back in this mid 30s time frame for myself, was time freedom. I 100% wanted to be in control of my day-to-day activities. Now, when I put that as a success goal for myself, I had no idea what that meant. And that's what I'm saying today. I have that. I get to choose what I do on a daily basis. I currently provide and take care of my grandchildren. One's 2.5, and the other one is my granddaughter's about 4 months old. I get to watch them on a daily basis. Now, some people will think that just sounds silly. And you know what? When you think about it, it kind of is. why am
That's right.
I why am I watching my grandchildren? And the point that it's fun for me because it's teaching me I missed out on those stages of life for my kids because I was grinding. Now I'm able to relive those moments now with my grandchildren with a different mindset, with a different skill set, all the different kinds of things. So I'm able to be with them. And of course, it's work. I mean, changing diapers and just doing what we do right every day. It's not fun per se every second of every day, but I get to choose to do that. And then I also work at a local golf course here during the summer. I cut and mow greens, and I love being outside. I take care of my own yard. I just love doing those things. And so I found something that I can do to be productive, get me out of the house, but I choose to do that. I don't have to go back. He's about actually getting ready to probably call me back here, I think 1st of April, and I get to decide, do I want to go back or not? And that's what I mean for success for myself. I might have said already, my wife, we were actually in the process, we're in the due diligence state phase of buying a business. And that is going to become freedom also, meaning I'll be involved, but this is my wife's dream. And so to be able to
Mm.
be supportive for her in what I do and how I do things, right? Our skill sets are completely opposite, but at the same time, when we come together, it's going to be magnificent. So we're excited about that as well. That's going to generate some maybe a little less time freedom than what I currently have, but at the same time, it's going to create different types of freedom moving forward. But that's where that education comes in, and that's where I strive to try to, in my moments of explanation with the podcast and that type of thing, is that once you realize and understand the game, the life game, the financial game, the business game, the podcast game, whatever game it is that you want to succeed in, there's rules. And if you follow those rules, you'll get a better result than if you're just blindly just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's been the process for me. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of, I've had virtual mentors, but I haven't had a lot of one-on-one mentor coaching, that type of thing. So once again, so trying to give back as much as I possibly can to help shorten that time frame. Once again, that's what I consider to be success also, right? If somebody finds value in the message that I have, that feels good, right? Now, whether they take that information and use it or not, that's obviously up to them in that moment. But it allows me then to be calm. So I'll wrap this long-winded answer, Daryl, up with just saying, so now these days, I'm really focusing on controlling my mental game. And what I mean by that is I'm seeing after a lot of self-study, at a lot of meditation type practices and just being with myself, I'm really noticing patterns in my own thinking, my own habits from a financial standpoint, from a family, relationships, all of those types of things. And so I'm really trying to focus on getting good at that mental game for myself. So that way I can be the one in charge, meaning that monkey mind isn't the one directing how I am or what I do, how I say it. I'm able to show up present. I'm able to show up in control. And that's what I'm really focusing on right now. So today success means when I'm able to get triggered with whatever, a stimulus outside of me, when I'm able to control it in that moment and direct my thoughts where I want them to go versus where I habitually go, that to me is success today. So I kind of, like I said, I kind of took that all kinds of different directions, and there's probably a lot of threads to pull on with that answer. But yeah, success has meant different things at different times for me. But being able to participate and be in the driver's seat of my life right now is probably the most exciting, which is going to lead to who knows what. And that's, once again, that's where it becomes fun for me.
That's great, Randy. And I love to hear that because I would say a very similar story for me, just in terms of the idea of success morphing over time. And I think sort of an all-encompassing definition for me at this point is success now, as it has been for probably 25 years or so, is waking up in the morning with a smile on my face. And so what does that entail? It entails every single thing you just talked about, because all those go into that mix, right? That soup. I have to have, I'm not going to wake up with a smile on my face if I don't have enough money to, put food on the table and take care of my needs, my family's needs. I won't. I'll be upset. So if I don't have some sort of peace of mind, if I don't have some kind of time freedom, if I don't have some kind of meaning or purpose, and if I don't have, great relationships in my life, then I'm probably not going to wake up with a smile on my face. So I have to put time and, and effort and show up in all of those areas of my life. And then I can put all those things together and say, you know what? I'm waking up in the morning with a smile on my face. Things are going okay, or actually really freaking well, which is cool. But I love that you brought up, and I'll stop on that. You said there's a lot of strings to pull. There definitely were, but the peace of mind thing, I think, is, and putting work into that, because that was something for me as I was learning how to, get through my 20s and my 30s, and the mind is just reeling, and the heart, it just, the chest sometimes felt like it had a big hole in the middle of it, and I'm like, man, I gotta figure something out to calm my mind and to fill that hole. And it was meditation, it was quiet, it was outdoors, it was breathing practice, it was gratitude, it was a lot of things, and it was something we talked about before we hit the record. It was taking out the garbage, I had to remove some garbage from my life, and not in a disparaging way, but that meant some people needed to get jettisoned from my life. And I have to continually keep my life clean, keep my side of the street clean. So you hit on some wonderful stuff there, but and it hit me because I can absolutely relate. So tell me about a time, if you would, when you just didn't feel like doing the difficult thing, the thing where you needed to show up, but you did it anyway, and it worked out.
Probably the answer that comes to mind for that instantly would be the podcast, to be quite honest. I'd never done that type of thing before. I just was inspired to do it, really. I just felt like it was time to give it a shot. I was a very much a podcast consumer. I mean, I've listened to and watched so many podcasts up to this point in my life, so I felt confident doing it. But we mentioned this before we even hit record today too, right? To hit record with the camera. So there's times I'll do solo episodes and I'm literally in my room right here where I'm at right now by myself, looking into the camera and trying to speak with passion and purpose and all those kinds of things. Yeah, it can be, at first, it can feel a little strange. But once you do it a few times, you just kind of get in the reps and you just kind of get in the flow. It's even having this conversation here today, Daryl. It's like once we get going, it's like things start flowing. And it's an amazing feeling. But when I first started, I guess that's when I would say that was probably hard probably isn't the right word, but it was probably challenging because I'm not a very social person, meaning I don't share a lot of my personal life with folks. And so to basically put it out there that here I am and here's what I think, here's my opinions. I mean, I don't go into great detail about all of my opinions, but if you listen to enough episodes, you'll get a vibe of kind of how I am. To do that and then to put it out there on the internet, like I said, to to see that people are downloading my episodes from all over the world, it's just it's baffling to me. It's like, wow, I just can't imagine somebody from halfway across the world or all the way across the world. It's like, and they want to listen to something I had to say. Now, whether they got anything out of it, that's up for debate, right? That doesn't necessarily matter. But the point is that to have the courage to step into that, it took a lot for me because, like I said, I'm not a out front type of person. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not flashy. I just do what I do. So it was a little bit challenging at first. So that would be my answer to, something that I've had to show up to do that didn't necessarily have the 100% confidence before I started hitting record the first time for myself.
I'm with you. I am not the, public facing dude. It's not what I enjoy, or it's not what I enjoyed. I enjoy the heck out of it now because I love talking to cool people like you, developing friendships, and talking to people who I can just have a great conversation with about very meaningful life stuff. That's just absolutely wonderful. And I was scared to death to do probably at least the first half of the first season of my podcast. I was like, man, I'd get this little flutter and I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to say the right things. And, all that sort of stuff. It's funny, just as an aside, my wife and I had a restaurant for a while, and they put me out front sometimes to be the host. I'm like, I am not that guy. I'm not that guy. I did it and it was fine. But, when people would say, oh, we've been waiting for 20 minutes, I would say, no, you've actually been waiting for about 9. And because that's how I am. And, but, it worked out fine. The restaurant went really well. And I guess that sort of exemplifies me not being an out front kind of guy.
Each one of us has our own skill sets, and it's like I'm talking about with this business for my wife. It's like this is her. She's going to be the one running the show. I'll be in the background doing some things, and it'll be a success because of that. Because if you just allow and step into your own skill set, but at the same time, yeah, you need to challenge yourself as well. You need to do some things that are a little bit uncomfortable, and that is not a bad thing. It's taken me a long time to figure that out on my own, but at the same time, yeah, it's definitely a give and take for sure.
Yeah, and there's a we talked a little bit earlier about just expanding ourselves and expanding our belief systems and our sort of realm of things that we can do, based on what we're willing to step into that we don't know. If I just do things that I know how to do my entire life, that might get a little boring, at some point. So I do like stepping out, and then part of me doesn't like stepping out because it's scary sometimes. We talked about me, and I've mentored and helped and coached and led a lot of people in my life, but I never did it, sort of formally as a coach where people pay me, and I have trepidation about it. I know I can help people. There is no question. I know that, but I'm a little nervous about doing it. And it's like, well, then there's your answer. Go do it. Right? I mean,
Just
that's
step
that's
into
the
it.
answer.
Yeah, just step into it. Step into it, show up, just like the title of your podcast here, and see what happens. Being a creative being, that's you have the opportunity to pivot. It's not it's not right or wrong. There's just feedback and you pivot. And you keep moving forward. It's taken me a long time to figure that out as well. You don't fail, you just learn and reapply. Uh, so as long as it doesn't end up being death, which I would assume that this isn't going to be death to you, then you'll be able to learn from it, right?
I'm
And
hoping
that's
not. Yeah.
yeah. So you just kind of learn from it, and then you move on. And
Yeah.
I know that
I'm
is easier
actually
said than
really
done.
looking forward to it. Yeah, I am really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really cool. Although there's just that little trepidation part, but that part hones my interest and my resolve and how much I study and how, because I'm scared to death to not be good at something.
Hmm.
I can't even stand the thought. Like, if I'm going to bowl, I'm going to learn how to bowl, man. If I'm going to, whatever I'm going to do, I want to be good at it. If I'm going to teach sales, I want to be really good at teaching sales. If I'm doing sales, I want to be really good at doing sales. And I can't stand the thought of not being good at it. And there also becomes an element of patience, and sometimes when we think of showing up, we think, well, it's all just, offense, and you're pushing and pushing and going. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. Sometimes showing up means slowing down. Sometimes showing up means resting and taking care of ourselves. And sometimes it means I just need to have patience with the process. So there are a number of things, right, that go into that mix of showing up, and it's not all drive. Sometimes it's settle back, hit the brakes, pump them, go down a gear, right?
The word I've been using in my own life the last few months is allow. Is
Yes.
is knowing in my heart, not in my mind, right? In my head, right? So we think intellectually, but in my heart, my knowing that it will all work out exactly the way it's supposed to. And I get that it's difficult. That's another thing. It's easier said than done. I get that. But at the same time, I've had enough experiences in my life that even when it's turned out or it appears to be difficult, challenging in the moment, when you look back on it, there's a reason. There's seeds that have led to multiple different things. I've mentioned a couple of times this opportunity my wife and I are involved in. We've met these folks through some random. If you would put the seeds together from start to finish of how we were even in the process of getting this deal done, you wouldn't have been able to figure that out. I mean, you just can't do that. So that's where I I believe in my mind that sometimes when you're pushing and grinding towards something that may or may not be in your best interest, I've had to really sit with allowing,
Mm,
allowing it to unfold. Now that does allowing isn't not taking, it doesn't mean I'm not taking action. That's where it's a little bit challenging. It's when I have an idea, when I have an inspiration, when I have a whatever, I still take action on those moments, but I'm not dreadfully sitting in my present moment worrying about a future that may or may not come to pass. That's where that getting in the driver's seat of my life and really trying to take control and win the game of my mental side, that's where I've really tried to do that here lately. So, yeah, as you were going through, the patience is another word that fits into that as well. I've never been a very patient person. I've always felt like I needed to keep pushing. Um, and I've had to really sit with allowing. So I'll just wrap it up there because that's exactly what I've had to mentally do. Um, and things are starting to unfold. It's really an amazing thing. The more I have allowed, the more things begin to happen. Um, it's an amazing process. So it's been fun for sure.
Yeah, I love that word. That's one of my favorite words in the English language. I think we may have talked about that on the last time we were rapping about allowing, and I think it's Joseph Campbell in The Power of Myth. I think it was the 80s or something, 87 or 86, when he did this interview with Bill Moyers, and it's just timeless wisdom. But he talks about, you know, once you set yourself on a path and you're moving along that path consciously, and I like to think of life as I have to keep trying, whatever that looks like, and I'm going to say this, I don't really mean it this way, but to qualify for the universe showing me more. If I just wake up in the morning and I jump on the couch and I'm drinking beer and hanging out and eating chips all day, nothing good is going to happen. The universe is not going to open up and show me a path. So as long as that's my personal belief, but as long as I'm trying, and the universe just has this way, whatever you want to call it. You can call it God, you can call it whatever. I don't care.
I'm the same way. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, but it's powerful and it works, and I've seen it work, and it's exactly what you're describing. It's like I could not have put this stuff together with all of the circuitry in here. It wouldn't have touched, 0.1% of what needed to happen to make all these things come together for that to happen. And that is just the coolest thing ever. And we can plug into that. And that's the really cool thing. And allowing plays a big part in that, so that I don't outthink the wisdom of the universe, right? I'm trying to figure it all out. Meanwhile, the universe is like, dude, banging on my hood.
Hello, wake up. Hello.
Yeah, what are you doing? I'm showing you the way and you're trying to go over here. Well, So anyway, I think that's beautiful that you brought that up, Randy. So thank you for that. Very cool.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. It's those patterns. I mentioned that a little bit ago for myself. So I have a tendency to think in lack, just from my upbringing. So I'm always tendency half glass or glass half empty versus half full. I mean, that's just how I've always been that way. So I have been really trying to work with myself to stop it, basically, in real time when it happens. And this allowing all of these kinds of things that you even just mentioned, it happens. So when I get triggered with an event, I'm able to slow down. Like you said, getting outside, going for a walk, that's probably my go-to. It happened to me yesterday. I had a triggering moment yesterday morning, and I was in a little bit of a funk. My mindset just wasn't, I was going to a negative mindset, meaning I was thinking of all the things that could go wrong or should go wrong. You know what I mean? I was just in that negative space. I went for a walk, no earbuds. I mean, I wasn't listening to anything other. It was a beautiful day, 70 and sunny here in Indiana in March it's like a beautiful thing. So just walking around, and I started to get feelings. I started to get thoughts. I started to get ideas that were contradictory to all the thoughts that I had earlier that morning. I started to feel better. I started to think better. And I instantly called my wife because it was about, once again, it's about this business opportunity that we've got presented to us. And I just told her, I was like, whatever I said this morning, that is like not on the table anymore. And that's, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't do that. We've got to stop. I can't continue this to happen. I need to allow this to unfold in front of us, and then we'll take action as needed, depending on what feedback we get. That has been a big challenge for me in my adulthood, trying to get better at that process. And that's what I'm actively trying to do every single day. It's gotten a lot easier, but it's still a challenge. And, but once again, it's like being a participant, it's makes life more fun. I'm able to participate. I'm able to I'm able to go for that walk and realize, okay, something is probably going to happen, or I'm going to see something, or I'm going to hear something, or I'm going to think something that's going to change how I feel in this moment. And I would say most of the time, that's exactly what happens. It could be in a journaling session that I have with myself. It can be in a just when I'm sitting quiet by myself. It could be on a podcast with you, Daryl. I mean, you just have somebody might share something with you, and it's like, wow, I never thought of it that way before. And if you're there, present, ready to allow it to happen, you can receive it instead of being in that go, 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 get, do mindset where you're just deflecting everything because you're so set thinking that you know the way, when in reality, that might not be the case.
Absolutely. Yeah. And three things I thought about. One was gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes I can shift that funk by focusing on something I'm grateful for. And that's a really cool thing. The other thing was, number two was faith. And I think faith is really crucial. And sometimes for me anymore, it's just faith in life. I don't have to attach that to some other entity. My life is everything that's going on, and I can just have faith because it's funny, I'm going to quote Joseph Campbell again, but Joseph Campbell was asked about his faith, and he said, well, I don't need faith. I have experience. Yeah. Experience, because I've watched it all happen the way it's happened, and life is better than I ever thought it would be. So, and it wasn't me. It was just, I bring the attitude and the effort. That's all I bring. Something else makes all this stuff happen, and it's not me. And the last thing was, and we're going to get ready to wrap it up here in a second, but the last thing was humility, being teachable, being in a position where I can say, you know what, I don't have all the answers. And I say, thank God I don't have all the answers, because I would screw it up. I'm very capable of that because I'm a cowboy. I'll just go do it. I'll do something, and blow it up, and then I'll have to figure it out. So having that humility to be teachable is such an incredible asset. So Randy,
100%.
have loved it, man. I've absolutely loved it. Where can we find you, and wherever you want to be found? And we'll put all the, the socials and the podcast and everything in the notes. But if you would let the audience know, that would be great.
Yeah, you could find the Rich Mind podcast. So if you've enjoyed this conversation with Daryl, if you find my message resonates with you in any way, what I've talked about here today is a lot of the things I discuss on the Rich Mind podcast. You can find me on all the podcast platforms, including YouTube. Shoot it in video, and it's up there as well. Come find me there. I've got 280-ish episodes or so in. And so, yeah, you can binge on a lot of different things, different topics, financial education, personal development. I've had a lot of interviews. I've had Daryl on the episode a couple of times, actually. That was a lot of fun as well. I think that was mid to late 2024, if I'm not mistaken, when that happened. So you can search for those episodes as well. But that would be the best place. The Rich Mind podcast. You can head over to richmind.co. That's the website we have set up. I've actually got a 2-minute assessment. So once again, it's once you realize and see these patterns in your life, you can really start to take some proactive action. And then relatively quickly change the trajectory of where you're headed. But you've got to be able to see these patterns. And so I've set up a 2-minute, just a quick assessment to kind of help you see your pattern in a relatively short period of time. So you can head over, like I mentioned, to richmind.co. It's right at the top of the page. You can just take the free assessment. Maybe that'll help you begin seeing some things, allowing some things to happen in your life a little bit more fluidly, maybe moving forward, which would be a lot of fun. Those are probably the best ways to do that. If you want to reach out to me via email, it's info@richmind.co, and feel free to drop me a line and questions, concerns. Would love to communicate and get with everybody. As far as the socials, I'm basically Randy Wilson online everywhere you go. So Randy Wilson online on Instagram. If you search that in LinkedIn or YouTube, obviously, I mean, you can find me pretty much if you search for Randy Wilson online. Rich Mind, if you type that in there as well, I should pop up on just about any social media platform out there as well. So that would be the best for me.
Great, Randy. Yeah, thank you very much. And I encourage you, Randy's got a lot of wisdom and a lot of practical tips and things that can absolutely improve your life. So I would just ask, please take advantage of every avenue to continue to show up. So Randy, thank you. Appreciate it, man. Very good to see you again. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Thank you for joining us on the Show Up podcast. To learn more about me, my coaching, or my books, please feel free to visit my website, daryldittmer.com, DarylDittmer.com. Thank you.